whether you manage 60 people, 4 people, 10 people, identifying those key team members that can also help lead, and then find a way to get them to encourage the people that they're now helping lead as well to lead. The trickle down effect is huge.
Yeah. So we've really seen people step up, and there's one big change that I think we can account for all of this, and that is working remotely.
Yeah, Dan, and that's a great point. Working remote, that has been the big phrase is working remote. A lot of that comes with its pros and cons.
Yeah.
Working remote. I don't know if it's more pros than cons or cons and pros. How do you feel about it? I mean, what are some of the pros and cons that you've seen and speed bumps maybe that have happened since we went remote?
It's tough. Some of the pros are cons, and some of the cons are pros at the same time. It may be too early to tell. We've had a remote work in our company ever since we've been with the company, but never at this level. The amount of people and just full-time remote work is, days here and there, a week here and there, whatever. So obviously speed bumps, as a father having a child at home the full time is sometimes dealing with the kid issues. Some days he's great, understands after work, and he works on his own project. Yeah. Some days he thinks it's a Saturday and wants to come into the office every 3 minutes and show me something or try to get me to do something. Yeah. But then, that's a good example of a con that's a pro. See, spending more time with your family is a huge pro.
Absolutely.
There's nothing I like more than every day he wakes up, I'm already in the office. He walks in there and says, good morning. Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. Before it was wake him up, throw his clothes on, get breakfast at him, get him on the bus, get to work. The whole morning was rushed, your whole routine.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's a huge pro in itself. And then some of the other things is, we've talked a lot about the whole relationship building and the personal aspect of things. But also the time we save driving. 2 hours a day, that's 10 hours a week of my life that I have extra now. I don't really know what I've done with it besides projects around the house or, cooking more home meals. So either way, I want that. I like that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that time where I looked at it and you said like some of the pros are cons, some of the cons are pros is I looked at the mornings as hectic. Father of 4 over here.
Yeah.
Getting kids to school, getting kids to daycare, getting them dressed, getting them shoes, getting the butts clean. I got to go potty.
Yep.
the whole thing, you get in the car, they don't have the chocolate milk. That was a hectic start to the day. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But that is then again, part of the pros, being able to be home with them, getting that ready for them, having that extra hour in the morning to not have to rush them everywhere, but to be able to maybe sit down for a couple minutes. Yeah. And spend some time while they drink that cocoa or whatever they may be doing. That's, to me, being home with them was very challenging at first. But you find yourself I found myself at least finding an office space. And I've actually found a few now within my house that can stay quiet, but I can still listen because they're younger and I got to know what's going on. I got to make sure they're breathing and they're alive. Yes. So I have found a couple spots now that I can actually go to do that, be in work mode, but still be close enough to have, the attentiveness that I need to the kids. Yeah. And it's time that there's some days that are stressful, but it's time that I will never get back with those kids. It's awesome. Something that we thought was never possible. Working remote was a thing for us a little bit when we needed to, but now it is 100%.
Yeah. I feel like, that's somewhat of a challenge that may disappear in the future too, as things get back to, somewhat normal, at least where we're allowed to be around each other. Kids are going to go back to school. Yeah. In school learning, there's a huge benefit to the social aspect of that. We've already seen social awkwardness, I guess, to say, rise over even through my generation and stuff. People felt more comfortable saying things behind a computer than face to face. And it was a skill that we were losing. So it's great to see that be, recognized. Yeah. If we remove children from school for years, don't do it. We're going to lose things like that, those soft skills that are so important. Absolutely. But having them, at home now gives us that extra hurdle to deal with and that extra challenge. When that may be removed in the future, they'll still return to school, and you need that space though to feel comfortable and feel productive. It was always talked about as having your office arranged in a way that would promote productivity or innovation or creativeness, whatever that may be for you. Yeah. Some people like very minimal, a single plant and a single pen and a pad of paper. And now I'm perfect, Absolutely. I'm the other way. I am surrounded in almost a horde of things from instruments to, comic books and whatever it may be, comfort items or whatever, but they're things that bring out my creativeness, in writing and music and stuff like that. Yeah. So when I'm in that area, I do my job better.
And we see that virtually. You see some people with no background at all. You see some people hiding out in their bedrooms. And then you see some people, like you'll hop on the call and it's, Dan, here's all my things.
Yeah, they're just all over.
Yeah, but it's great, and it's what makes you comfortable. And I think that's another part of another con of working from home is for some people, they don't have people in their house. Where you and I, we've got kids, we've got distractions, things like that. Mm-hmm. Some people have nothing.
The loneliness is a real factor.
It can be mentally challenging for them, and to that, some of the support that we've given or other people that I've heard in other companies have given when that is a challenge is, hey, look, you got to have a routine still.
Yes.
Some things shouldn't change. You should still get up. You should still brush your teeth.
Please.
Please. Some people shower at night. Some people shower in the morning. But if that routine was there, try keeping it. Get up, get ready. Don't show up in your pajamas or your robe on the meeting calls. Get actually physically ready.
Yes.
And get yourself mentally ready for the day.
Mm-hmm. So I have one trick I use.
Yeah.
Even I wear sweatpants more often than I'd like to admit nowadays, but they're super comfy. Yeah. I'll put on a nicer shirt for presentation, whatever. I wear shoes.
Yeah.
Still, 8 hours a day at home.
There you go.
When I have shoes on, I feel more productive, and it makes me feel like I need to be working, and it causes less distractions.
Yeah.
If I have slippers or no shoes on, it feels like a weekend.
Yeah, see?
Or it feels like I'm off work. Like I've got off, I've kicked my shoes off. You know?
And me, even in the office, like even right now, no shoes on.
Yeah.
Like I'm more comfortable that way. Now, obviously, if I'm walking around, I put them on. But at home, I find myself not putting them on. It's just natural habit. Now, where I will not wear sweatpants all day long, but usually if you catch me on a meeting, I've got a collared shirt on to look professional, but underneath, like down in the pant section, it's shorts. Oh, it's athletic shorts.
Gym shorts. Yeah.
Because that's what's comfortable to me. So, there are alterations that you can make, but the one thing that I always was, that I've heard other people telling is that you have to keep that routine, because where it is what they like to call once you make the move remote, it's easy working remote. It's not where it's easy remotely working. It's not as easy physically working remote. Some things can be more challenging. Yeah. And you got to keep yourself in a routine, a day-to-day routine, to make sure you're not getting out of it too.
Yeah. You got to, whatever that thing is for you that works for you, you got to find that, whether it's wearing shoes when you really don't need to, or whether it's having your space designed to promote your best you and your most productive you.
Yeah.
Everybody has something that, they, whether you know it or don't know it, you attribute it to productivity, and it's going to allow you to get work done. Music, I know, is a big thing for some people. Yeah. Podcasts, sports, we don't really have.
They're coming back.
Too much. Yeah, they're coming back. They've been creative with the sports shows.
They've had
keeping them going.
Yeah. That's an adaptation if you want to see one.
Yeah. So there's just little things. I'm a podcast person. I love listening to podcasts or YouTube podcasts, whatever it may be, during the workday.
Yeah.
Sometimes after lunch, I kick on a little music to bump me back up and make sure I'm staying on track.
Yeah, absolutely. But mine's usually like a 3:00 break. I'll go run or work out in some respect. Just to clear my mind. I put some headphones on, put on some soft music just to get myself in, the zone and a little bit out of the dad zone. and have one of the older kids watch some of the younger kids for maybe a short half hour, and get myself a more physical break, a more physical exercise.
Those are nice too. If you have the space, a bike, a yoga mat. I have a couple of free weights just sitting at the other end of my desk. So when I get up to stretch, I can do a little physical activity to get the blood pumping.
Yeah.
And if you have that space, even if you weren't very physically active before, I'd recommend giving it a shot. It really does help.
Oh, it does for sure. And there's apps that are free, things like that you can go and get if you don't know what to do or don't have the equipment to do it, that are at your fingertips. Free apps that tell you some mental yoga stretch breaks, something stretch wise. I'm not a morning person. I'm the first one to say it. Part of the cons to working from home was I used to be forced to get up at like 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. to get the kids ready to get out the door and everything like that. Now I find myself, I'm getting in a better routine now that we've been at it for a little while. But I got in a terrible routine of I wasn't going to bed till like midnight, and I wasn't getting out of bed physically until like 7:45.
That was a lot of the fight or flight mode that this whole pandemic had kind of put everybody in, though. Everyone's sleep schedules were weird and everything seemed weird. And I think we're getting back, at least mentally, and I am, and I hope others are as well, into where I can fall asleep peacefully and comfortably at 10 o'clock if I want to. I get up at 6 because I like to have a little bit of time in the morning to just, do whatever before everyone else in my household is awake. Wake myself up, have a bowl of cereal, whatnot. But so there are lots of challenges and lots of ways to deal with it. You have your physical exercise, you have your motivation, whatever that may be, if it's in the form of, music or podcasts or, anything really, whatever gets you in that mood. And then
some of the pros too. I mean, I'm saving money. I've only filled my gas tank up in 4 months 2 times.
I
mean, it's crazy to think. And now I feel like I'm lazy and I'm a home rat and I'm just never leaving my house. But that's kind of the reality of it, right?
And currently still, that's not a bad thing. We're still, while we're not on lockdown or stay at home order or whatever, I try to still stay at home as much as possible because things are still a little weird out there, and you don't know what to believe, what not to believe. And you always got to choose with what makes you comfortable. And me staying home more often than not makes me feel better about.
And believe it or not, pro wise, while we stick on that topic, I took a poll with my team to see if they felt like the culture had increased, decreased, kind of stayed the same, because I was super curious. We as a company for the past 1.5 years, 2 years have been working really hard. We have a culture team. They do a great job, and they've been trying to do it virtually, and I think they're still hitting it. But there's still always that what do the employees feel? Because regardless of what I feel, I got to hear from them too. And I actually got surprising results where I think a quarter of my team said it had stayed the same, and 75% of my team said it had gotten better. And I don't know if that's attributed to the more one-on-one virtual, conversations or the team talks and having things more, I don't want to say structured, but when you're planning a physical call like that, it is much more structured than when you just pop up in their cubicle.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's part of the pros is somehow, some way, at least for my team, it seems like it's been a positive impact on the culture, whether that's because they're saving money and not having to come into the office, or they get to wear sweatpants or no shoes.
Whatever it may be.
It's there though. It exists.
And the scheduling aspect, like you just mentioned, that's huge, I think, because a lot of the pop in and talk to you for a minute, you're usually interrupting somebody or they're interrupting you. Very rarely are you just like, I just happen to be doing nothing myself, so let's chat for a bit.
Right.
So scheduling these in a way to where it's like, all right, I need to have this, task or whatever may be done by this time. I'm going to hop on this call, and then I'm going to get back here. That now just opens that time up for that, and you're reducing any of the accidental annoyance maybe, or, interrupting somebody's productivity, and now they're like, well, great, now I don't want to go back to work because he just told me something really cool.
And it's I feel like a pro to it is they're more meaningful meetings now, less wasted meetings as much,
True.
where I'm not just calling somebody on the phone and saying, hey John, just make sure you're working, press 2, press the number 2 on your phone, beep, okay, cool, bye. Like it's not doing that. It's you're calling up, it's scheduled, it's structured, people like it, it's not really wasting their time. And because everybody is remote, people are much more open to taking those random phone calls that you're talking about too.
Exactly.
Of, hey, and they're like, oh, it's so good to hear from somebody.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pros.
Yeah.
There are cons, but I think a lot of the cons outside of the technological challenge hurdle to overcome, I think a lot of the cons have pros to them.
True. There's the introverted, extroverted.
Yeah. That's
a little, I'm more naturally on the introverted side. I prefer to be. So when they're like, you have to stay home for a week, I was like, okay. I could have done that any week. This is great. But a lot of people are like, what do you mean? I need to leave. I need to go. I got to talk to people. My friends are going to be here. Or like,
and we had a lot of that when we first started. And actually that first month was the real struggle. And now after that, I've actually had a lot of the people that were that way, that needed to be out, that needed the physical, not physical, but the person in front of them.
Yeah.
Now they're like, hey, I got to tell you, this remote thing's kind of nice. Can you give me a huge heads up when we're going to go back to the office?
Yeah. It's just been such a long time. There've been many studies, how many days it takes to break a habit, how many days it takes to start a good habit. Yeah. It's, I don't want to say forced, but it's a forced change of behavior. Yes. And once it's gone so long, we're good at adapting.
So that's the big next thing is how much of a culture shock is it going to be when we go back?
If we go back. Each company is different. Some have already announced we are not going back. I've seen numbers as high as 30% will not be returning to the office for office employees, whatever that industry may be. And that's nationwide. Yeah. I think that number might be a little low in a 3-year time span. I think that could be pretty close for a year.
Oh, yeah.
But we get, back and forth from lots of people, like, the pros and the cons.
Absolutely.
You take them, which one weighs more than the other. And we also like to open that up to anybody who has listened or watched through this entire video. Please leave us your feedback on this question too. Do you want to go back if you're working remote? If you're back in the office, would you like to work remote? Or would you prefer a mixture? Whatever your preference may be. We like this feedback. We talk about it a lot in the community and amongst other organizations, trying to, just forecast what the world's going to be like and what we can do to better provide information for that and, better work together in partnership.
Yeah.
So I think we have requested a lot from the listeners today and given them lots of things to, think about, chew on, hopefully giving them some information they can implement, taking back into their own teams, whether that be professional, personal, whatever. And I think it's about time to say goodbye for this episode.
Oh, great. Well, I had a blast, and I hope everybody took some stuff from this that they can build on. We'd love to hear from you guys in the comments.
Yeah, or reach out to us directly. We'll have those links below. If you watch this on YouTube, please follow the channel to make sure that you will receive all notifications and you will know when we release a new episode. Currently, we're hoping to release episodes on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. That hasn't been fully discussed. If you consume this content from whatever other podcast source you may get your podcasts from, please remember to check back every week and look for new episodes. We have lots of topics lined up. I'm pretty excited about some of the topics coming up. We're, working on lining up some guests as well. And, just hopefully bring you the type of information and content you need. And always ask if you want us to talk about something. We're happy to go into it. We have a few people that do some research on this stuff. If you don't got time to research something you need to know about, let us know. We'll squeeze it in there.
Yeah.
All right. And I think that's it for today. So
don't forget to hit that like button.
Yeah. Derek's been great. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks.